Something felt different in Merryvale that afternoon. The birds sang softer, the breeze moved slower, and Sophie Ella had a question she couldn't stop thinking about. "Why is Good Friday called good?" she whispered. The question hung in the air like the last note of a song. Even Barney, who had been happily sniffing a patch of buttercups, paused and tilted his head. Max and Obie exchanged a glance. Dusty looked down at the flower garland she was weaving. "It doesn't sound good," Sophie Ella added, brushing her fingers along the soft grass. "If Jesus died, wasn't it a sad Friday?" Obie gave a small huff. "That's a good question." "A very good one," Max agreed. Dusty stood up, her ears twitching. "We wondered that too. Until, well, Dave helped us understand." Sophie Ella looked toward the trees. "Can we ask him?" "Come on," Dusty said with a grin. "He's probably under his thinking tree." They set off through the orchard, Sophie Ella, Barney bounding ahead, the owls swooping gently through the branches, and Dusty trotting beside them with the garland still wrapped around her neck. Dave the donkey was resting beneath his favourite shady tree, watching clouds drift lazily across the sky. He looked up as they approached, his eyes warm and kind. "Hello, young ones," he greeted. "What brings you here on such a fine spring day?" Sophie Ella sat cross-legged beside him. "Dave, why is it called Good Friday if Jesus died that day?" Dave's ears twitched slightly. He nodded slowly. "Oh, yes, that question means your heart is awake." Barney flopped into the grass, letting out a soft woof. Dave looked into the sky. "Well, that Friday long ago, Jesus was taken by soldiers. He was hurt, laughed at, people shouted terrible things, and then he was nailed to a cross." Sophie Ella's eyes grew wide. "But why didn't he stop them?" Dave took a breath. He nodded slowly. "Because he loved us. He knew what he came to do, to take all the brokenness, all the wrong things in the world, and carry them." Dusty whispered. "Just like you carried him, Dave." Dave nodded gently. "Yes, I carried him into Jerusalem. But that Friday, he carried us." "But it still sounds sad," Sophie Ella said quietly. "It was sad," Max said, perching nearby. "The saddest day in history. But it was also the day love did something no one expected," Dave added. "Jesus didn't fight back. He forgave. He prayed for the people hurting him. He gave his life to give us life." Sophie Ella tilted her head. "So, it's good because he chose to do it? For us?" Obie landed beside her. "And because it wasn't the end." Max's voice was soft. 3 days later, he rose. Dusty's eyes sparkled, like the story wasn't over yet. Dave smiled. "That cross, it looked like the end. But really, it was the beginning of something new. Forgiveness, hope, forever love." Sophie Ella looked down and noticed a little pile of pebbles near the tree roots, smooth and round and speckled with colour. She picked up 3 of them and sat cross-legged. "I want to paint these," she said softly. "One with a heart, one with a cross, and one with a sunrise." Dave's ears twitched. He gave a gentle nod toward the base of his tree. "There's a box there," he said, "tucked into the hollow." Sophie Ella leaned over and opened it carefully. Inside were old keepsakes, a faded ribbon, a wooden comb, and, nestled in the corner, a tiny paint tin still holding a few soft colours. "I used to paint with the little ones who visited here," Dave said quietly. "Pebbles, leaves, sometimes just the sky." Sophie Ella smiled. "Can I?" Dave gave a warm nod. "That's why I kept them." She dipped the brush and carefully painted. One pebble with a heart, one with a cross, and one with the softest sunrise she could make. Barney curled up beside her, tail thumping. As the sun dipped lower behind the trees, Sophie Ella tucked the painted pebbles into a little cloth pouch. She walked beside Dave and Dusty, with Barney happily skipping through the grass. "Good Friday was the day Jesus showed us the greatest love," she said quietly, "even if it cost him everything." "Exactly," Dave said gently. "And that's why it's good," Max added, "because that wasn't the end." Sophie Ella smiled and whispered, "Then I'm glad Love's story didn't end there." She looked up at the sky, brushed her fingers across the pouch of painted pebbles, and said, "Maybe even when things seem sad, God's still doing something good." Sophie Ella's 3 painted pebbles glowed in the last light of day. A heart, a cross, a sunrise. "Each one means something," she said. "Love, sacrifice, hope. Can you draw your own pebble for Good Friday? Share what you would paint and why in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. If you could please like and subscribe, that would be wonderful.